We have our general manager and Dan Rodan. Breakdown, give me an early scouting report here on free agency and divvy them up to me into categories in terms of like dollar amounts.
Yeah, so this wasn't an area I was very proficient in, i.e. Mike Hampton, Denny Nagel. So anyway, that's a joke, guys. There are two names that I'm going to start at $100 million, and then we'll go to $200 million and $300 million.
Okay.
So the two players in the $100 million category I didn't add. One is Justin Verlander, because I think he will opt out. I don't think at his age he'll get a 3-year deal, but I wouldn't put it past him.
Okay, and he's 39.
He's going to pitch next year at 40.
So you think he'll get 100?
No, I don't. I didn't put him on my list.
And
the second one was, I thought Contreras was going into the All-Star game, but he's kind of cratered the second half of the year.
He's got an ankle issue right now, too.
And the catching situation, I mean, JT Realmuto got $115 million, but that's kind of the danger position. Like, you could overcommit to that position and can't really dig yourself out of that position. Right. But the rest of these guys, I feel pretty comfortable are going to land somewhere in that area. So here is our board. Obviously, DeGrom, I think, will end up, his AAV will be huge. It just depends upon the number of years, but he's going to end up somewhere between 100 and 200 million. I think Nolan Arenado opts out. He's got 144 million left. I think he stays in St. Louis, but I think it'll be something larger than that.
So you think, he's got 144 left, so you think it'll be obviously more than that, but less than 200?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep, somewhere in that area. He's going to play next year 32, I think. So I think that his age becomes a little bit more challenging for the length of the contract. Carlos Rodan, I mean, he's 30 years old, and he's pitched like a $100 million pitcher. Diaz probably might be a reach for some people, but he's 29. He's a dominant closer. So does he get a 4-year deal at 25 or a 5-year deal at 20? Largest ever, I think Kelly Chapman was at 85 million. But I could see someone playing at that level, maybe even the Mets. And I think Dansby Swanson, I think he's one of the most underappreciated, impactful shortstops there is in the game. And I think he does very, very well in the free agent market. But I'm not sure he gets into the $200 million area.
Any player on that list that you like, you want to highlight, pick out?
I like them all because they're all really good. Swanson, I like what Dan said because it's a premium position, first of all. I put that extra emphasis on a shortstop that durable, comes to play every day, and I really think he's come into his own in the last 2 years of understanding what he does at the plate well. I think his defense has always been very solid, and he's kind of stepped up into that role.
He's a winning player,
one of those leaders, on the field, in the clubhouse, where guys can say, hey, I would like to emulate the way this guy comes to the park every day, what he does in between in the white lines. So,
yeah, there might be more talented players than him on this list we'll talk about, but I wouldn't, on my want-to desire list, I think I'd have Dansby above him, because the one thing that Mike knows, and he brought it up earlier in the show, he talked about being a baseball player, but he talked about durability. This guy shows up and plays every single day. Whether he's performing well or poorly, whether he's banged up, he posts every single day.
You think there's going to be more pressure on Alex Anthopoulos in the Braves front office to get that deal done since Freddie, that deal didn't work?
I think there is. I mean, I think Alex has done a great job. He has cost predictability now in all of his good players, so he knows the contract for Dansby, how that affects his payroll moving forward. The Grisham kid's come up, and he's a shortstop too, has been really good, but it would be a shame to see Dansby leave Atlanta, because I think when you look at what they have now with Olsen, Albies, Swanson and Riley, they've got their infield for the next 5, 6, 7 years, which is almost impossible in this game to do.
All right, let's go to the $200 million guys.
Yeah, we're starting to step up into the big boys here. So,
yeah, the $100 million were just the scraps.
Well, I mean, Correa at the age of 28, I mean, he's still one of the more elite players in the game. I don't think, Mike, he's having the kind of year that's going to warrant a $300 million contract. But because of the age and the track record of winning and performance, I do think he gets above $200 million. But, again, not coming off what I would consider be the kind of year. It's been a good year, but I don't know if it's been the kind of year that any of us would expect him to have to be a $300 million player.
So do you, by the way, the ages on these boards are how old they will be at the beginning of next year. So just real quick on Correa. So, Mike, let me ask you, if you're Correa, because you're kind of having a down year, do you opt in Minnesota again to see if you can have a huge year? Because then you'll be 29 the following year, and then you...
I opt out, and I do applaud the Twins for what they did, because if I'm going after a guy, especially I look at DeGrom. If I'm a team that wants DeGrom, I don't mind blowing the AAV out of the water.
Okay.
For 3 years.
Right.
For 4, I can't give him 7 because
Yeah, I don't think there's much risk for him to opt out, Fran.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's my point.
Now,
I think it's going
Bogarts
to
for
be
me
there.
was, I tell you, Bogarts was a tough one because I think that he could fall below $200 million too. I just think, again, like Dansby Swanson, he's one of the more unappreciated players in the game. Shows up, shows durability. He's just a really good hitter. He gets dinged on his defense, but I don't believe in a lot of those metrics anyway because I don't think they really tell the story about how well he makes the routine play consistently.
Gotcha.
And so, I mean, I had him sneaking into that area, but that was a borderline for me one way or the other.
Yeah, and also, too, I mean, he's a championship player.
Yep.
Right now he leads the American League in batting, and so he's taken over Luis Ariz there. He's got an opportunity to do something no one's ever done, Mike, in Red Sox franchise history. You might not say it's a big deal, but it just speaks to the kind of hitter he is. If he gets 2 hits tonight, it'll be 10 consecutive games where he's had a multi-hit game.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so and only a handful of guys have
I'd be shocked if they let him go. I mean, I really would. I think they'd be thinking too much like a small market club. You know, with Story, him, and Devers, they got at least a core there to start with to get them back to where they want to be.
Dan, question for you. When a guy hits like the 30-year mark, I hear it all the time, oh, after 30 is the big decline. Does it turn into a years thing versus a...
It does, but you know, Mike, that's like painting everybody with the same brush, and it drives me crazy. This whole age regression.
It should be case by case, right?
I do. I think it's body type, how your body moves, your injury history. I think all those things factor into it, in the decision. The beauty of Xander is, I mean, he could move to a corner position and still, his bat's going to profile in a corner position as much as shortstop. And whatever you give up in range, I keep making the point of, the one thing StatCast does exceptionally well, it really measures range, you know, outs above average. But I don't think it lends enough percentage-wise credibility in the fact, does this guy make the routine play consistently? And so I think he gets dinged a little bit on that. But I think if you make the routine play consistently and you hit like he does, that's a really impactful play.
Yeah, there's value in that.
All right, let's go to the big boys.
Well, this is not a reach here for both these guys.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, Aaron Judge, we've talked about it.
Wow.
I mean, he's just an aircraft carrier. His issue is going to be length of contract at his age. But, you know, again, I think there'll be clubs just clamoring for his services. You know, clubs that have high revenue, that have clean payroll slates, that aren't the Yankees, that still will have the ability to try to add him at a high dollar amount. He bet on himself. On top of the fact that he's a great player, he runs the bases well, he's a good defender. He models the game of baseball exceptionally well. And this guy, he's everything you want in a player on the field and off the field.
Okay.
And I think you're going to invest in this type of, you're going to make this kind of investment. You want to invest in the human being as much as you want to invest in the player.
Okay. So let's go one at a time. Or unless you want to explain why Trey Turner's your guy.
Yeah, I just think Trey Turner is one of the best shortstops in the game.
Okay.
I mean, I think he hits for power. He's an above-average runner. He is a solid defender at shortstop. He is durable as all get out. I just think he's one of these guys that, you know, if Corey Seager's a $325 million player, somebody's got to tell me why, you know, Turner's not somewhere in that vicinity.
$300 million. I mean, that's a boatload of money. And I mean, I'm not saying that, you know.
I agree. Yeah, it's a lot of money.
And if you're a general manager, and Trey Turner is an unbelievable player, but if you think there's value out there, I mean, that you can get for less than $300 million for Trey Turner, I mean, do you think, hey, let me see if I can get the value, like a Dansby Swanson, or do you say, hey, Trey Turner's my guy?
Yeah, I can. If you're building your team in the aggregate, like almost every front office does, sure. And maybe Trey doesn't get that, but I guarantee he's going to be reaching for that at that point in time. But I do believe you get what you pay for, too.
Okay.
And I do believe there is a separation with Trey. I mean, Carlos Correa has more pure, raw talent than Trey Turner. But he doesn't play the game necessarily as well as Trey Turner plays the game night in, night out. Mike may feel differently on that.
No, I agree with that. For me, Trey Turner is the most valuable guy out of all the shortstops. I think Correa has the most interesting situation because I don't know if I want to opt out. His AAV is real high, so that's part one. He's 28, so next year he'll be going 29. I don't think that hurts him that much. Do you want to be battling 2 other elite shortstops going into free agency? Because then I think sometimes it might kind of squeeze the landing spots that you might want to go to. And unfortunately, he's going to have to make the decision where opt out or opt in. I don't know all the details. If he opts in, does he have to stay for the next 2? I think that's a big deal. I'm not sure. Does he have multiple opt-outs?
He has multiple opt-outs.
Yeah, so I think that's real. But I think that's the agent's job of understanding the landscape that's out there, what the dollar amounts are, because going back to the Corey Seager comp, where's Correa when you compare to Corey Seager? You know what I mean? This much below, this much above, but we're in the park.
Right, yeah.
So it's going to be an interesting, I don't know, it's going to be an interesting offseason.
So quickly, Judge, are the Yankees, are they in?
Oh, I'm sure they have to be in. Without a doubt. He represents everything that franchise wants to represent. But I do think there's going to be other players in the market for him that'll be able to play as high as they play.